Good evening, everyone in the AVID Educators Facebook family. So I posted something on someone else's question, I guess, about evidence collection, and someone else responded asking if they could see the documents that we use, that we created, if I could share those. And I wanted to do that, but I also kind of wanted to give a little walkthrough as to what we created and how we use it, what the process behind it is. So, as everyone in middle school, junior high, like myself, I'm at a junior high, we teach 7th and 8th grade. We switched this last year from using the CCS to the CCI. So this right here is our brand new document for the lovely CCI, which it's great. It gives us a more in-depth breakdown of things. I like it. To me, it's better organized. I know some people that are still, they're in an adjustment period with this, but I really like it. And I feel like it gives our content teachers who maybe aren't as familiar with the different, who weren't familiar with the different essentials before, really now this gives them a better way to understand what all of these AVID strategies really look like when we break them down, where they fit into WICOR. And then also it gives them more insight into how we collect evidence. And when we're looking for evidence of these different indicators, what would really work for that, and how we really now can show evidence of growth over time, throughout the year across both our grade levels for these different indicators. So starting with the CCI, myself and the other members of our AVID elective team. So I teach 8th grade, my 7th grade fellow team member, and then our coordinators started breaking this down to think of, okay, what's an easy way for us to look at this and understand this? So we created an evidence collection indicator key. So we put together the different indicators, their label, and then the language that came with them. Really trying to hone in on what the expectation was for each indicator. Is it something that, we really just need to see good examples of a few times? Is it something where we should see examples throughout the year from most of our staff, all of our staff, key members, those who are really familiar with implementing certain strategies? Or is this something we really need to see from everybody? So we broke that down so we could figure out what that needed to look like. And in creating this document, we realized, well, why don't we let the individual content areas and grade levels tell us what they do for each area currently that would fit each one of these indicators. So we sent one to each of our individual content area and grade levels. And for instance, this was our 8th grade ELA. Down below, they began filling in strategies that they currently use within their instruction that they believe would work for that particular indicator. And they did that for all 15. I won't scroll through there because we got some stuff to go through. But we did that for each content area and both grade levels, 7th and 8th for each content area. They began filling that out. Now, that's to kind of help them get an understanding of what they're going to need to submit for each of the 15 indicators. Then our next step that teachers asked about was, is there a way to have the indicators present with them in the classroom without having the document that their team worked on? That's something they want to keep digital, so that way it can continue to evolve as time goes by and they come up with new activities, or when new staff members join the department, they can even add to it and really increase the wealth of resources that they have within their content area and grade level. They wanted something that just listed the indicator language. So as they were planning individually within their own classroom, they could refer back to it, quickly have it printed out on hand. So we just listed the evidence indicators here for them. When teachers submit evidence, there are 2 documents that they use, and one of them is something we've had in different iterations in the past, and one of them is something brand new that we're using with our teachers this year. So the one that we've used in previous years, it's gone through different iterations, is our evidence description sheet. So this used to just be like half of the sheet of paper, and it was just lines, and we had instructions on there that said to give us a description of what the activity was that you're supplying evidence of, whether that's through a sample of student work or you've taken photos of the activity that they did, whatever the evidence is, explain the activity to us, what the objectives or purpose of the assignment was, and what elements of that activity lesson demonstrate the particular strategies that they were talking about. Now what we've done, that half sheet really wasn't going to work anymore. So we created a full sheet, and now that the teachers have had time to list and create a bank of strategies that they have for each indicator, now they can more specifically, check off or circle which of the indicators they think the piece of evidence they're submitting fits into. And then down below, they have some lines here to describe it in more detail, to really give us a breakdown of what they told the students to do. Because as we know, sometimes everything that goes into the lesson and everything that the kids end up doing isn't something that is, spelled out specifically in a lesson plan, or it's not something you're going to see in a photo if they submitted a photo. So it's really important for them to be very detailed and give us a full description of what happened. Because if the students at one point, you turned this into a discussion format and you had 10 minutes of collaborative discussion, I might be able to fit that under a structures of collaboration, indicator 8. But if you don't explain that to me and I can't readily see that in the piece of evidence you're submitting, I would never know that that could fit there. So this gives the teachers an ability to tell us, I think it fits here, let me explain why. So every teacher gets a stack of these, and we keep a stack of them printed in the office. So that way, each piece of evidence they submit, this gets filled out and stapled on top of it. And then the new document that we're going to be using this year is our AVID Evidence Submission Tracker. This was something I started putting together as a way for the evidence collection team, myself, our 7th grade AVID elective teacher, and our coordinators to use to help the teachers keep track of what they've submitted. So the teachers would hold on to this all quarter. So let's say this is first quarter right now. They are pulling together evidence. So when they look at this document, what this tells them is that during our semesters that we have, at some point during each semester, they're going to need to submit at least one example of structures of collaboration. This is something that as a site we're working on all together across all content areas and grade levels. So it made sense for us to include this as something we really want to see a good, strong piece of evidence from each teacher at least twice during the year. So this could be Socratic seminar, philosophical chairs, or any other type of collaborative structure that they're using in their classroom. Next, we identified our quarterly or routine indicators. And these are 4 things, indicators 1, 2, 3, and 15, that in looking at the wording from AVID, we inferred that they want to see growth over time of these strategies. So we need each teacher to be submitting examples of these things. So writing to learn, writing process, focused note taking, and WICOR strategies. This could be like, showing us an example of one of their lesson plans, how they include WICOR strategies throughout a lesson, or maybe throughout a series of lessons. But we wanted to see growth over time. So each of our teachers is responsible every quarter for submitting at least one piece of evidence for each one of these indicators. Then, if you'll notice, this only accounts between the semester indicators and the quarterly indicators. This only accounts for 5 things. There are 15 indicators. So the remaining 15 indicators are found down here in the yearly indicators. So the teachers need to submit at least one example of each one of these at some point throughout the year. It's up to them whenever it's going to fit really well in their lesson planning and their units for them to really gather this evidence and show that they're working on this. Again, here they only need to submit one example of each of these. So once they've done it, that's it. Basically, as they turn it in, we would check off, okay, here's their one example of structures for collaboration during first semester. They did that during quarter one. Okay, they submitted all of their quarterly indicators for quarter one. And then you know what? They also have a piece of evidence up here that works for indicator 4 and indicators 6 and 7. So now when I hand the teacher back their submission tracker, they would have one of the semester indicators checked off. So they're done with one. They only have one more to do. Then they have these 4 checked off for quarter one. And they already have 3 indicators for the yearly indicators done. And we check this off and hand it back to them. So now they have a visual way to reference what they've already submitted and other things that they can focus on within their planning and instruction. Also, on the back side of this document, we have a place for the evidence collection team to put in quarterly feedback. So if a teacher submits a piece of evidence, for instance, that is phenomenal and it is something brand new and we think this is something that could work not just for their other teammates or maybe for another department, we can tell them that here. We can give them feedback on why this really worked, why this is phenomenal. If a teacher submits a piece of evidence and let's say they only circled on the evidence sheet that they said it fits into one indicator, and we ended up thinking, no, this fits into 2 or 3. This encompasses a lot of WICOR strategies. This is phenomenal. We can tell them that in here and give them feedback to kind of coach them on how to spot those other indicators more readily in the work that they collect as evidence. Or if, for instance, we have a teacher who submits something that they say, it fits into a few different areas, or maybe, they've only selected a couple and it really isn't a great example of what we're looking for, or it shows us that maybe this teacher needs some additional coaching on how to really get this strategy to work best in their room. That enables us to, suggest that here, and we can tell them, hey, we'd like to talk to you about this piece of evidence. Maybe we can help you to, develop this strategy further in your classroom, or maybe this is a place for us to suggest other strategies that they could try instead, especially if this is a newer teacher who maybe needs some time to try some of those smaller strategies and build up to something more complex. We can give them that feedback here. But this has been our documents now that we're going to be utilizing. So hopefully if you guys think this can help your site, I'm going to attach the documents, some copies of them. So you're welcome to make copies for yourself and edit them as you would like, if you can use them or not, or if you have some ideas, some feedback for me on how we could improve these documents, that would be fantastic. I would greatly appreciate it. But as I'm sure you've heard for the last couple minutes, my pizza's beeping, so I need to go get my pizza out of the oven. But AVID family, I hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic Tuesday night and enjoy the rest of your week. And let's make 2018, 2019 totally freaking awesome, yo. Let's do this. All right. You guys have a great night. Bye-bye.